Welcome to another exciting edition of Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Papergoy. Today we're going to talk about how important it is for you to study your competition and your product. And it's both online and offline. In other words, local. And you're probably saying, well, I understand where I have to do a lot of studying online, but what do you mean by studying locally? And by that I mean you go to an auction and you continually bid against the same people. You see the same faces. There's a certain group of people that go to auctions, a certain group of people that go to estate sales, and you see them around time after time after time. And there was somebody that I would go to auctions regularly, and he would outbid me. He'd bid very, very strongly on some magazines. And I was able to track down his user ID. And not that hard to do, actually, in that what you do is when they purchase something from you fairly unique, you go and you search on it usually about a week to 2 weeks after, and you're usually able to find it. Now, when you're on eBay, you can use the various mileage things as well. So depending upon where you are, if you know the zip code of where the auction was, certainly most of the time it's not going to be more than 100 miles away. I mean, the odds of someone coming from California to purchase some stuff at a Rochester, New York auction, unless it's super high-end auction, are not very, very high whatsoever. So I was able to find his listings, and I study them regularly. And it gives me some tips, and it helps me out. And one of the biggest things I've learned from this person is don't be afraid to ask high prices. They definitely ask very, very high prices on things. And I look at their sell-through, and it's a lot lower than I would be happy with, but they're also getting a lot more money on things than I otherwise would. And I've gone through the various magazines that they sell. I check them out every single week, and I know how they're marketing, what they're marketing. And so that definitely has helped me out tremendously. And when I see him bidding on things, I know his couple of niche items. And if I see him bidding on those, I may bid him up a couple of times just to keep him honest when he's buying things. But I'm not going to outbid him on them because I'm not going to be able to outbid him. He has a market for those magazines. People purchase from him on those magazines. And it'd be very, very tough for me to break into that market and still make money because, again, I know what he was willing to pay on them the time he outbid me on them. So I'm not going to waste my time. I mean, I may do a quick little count if I see him at an auction, go, okay, there's 45 of this magazine there. Here's what I can go on it. But I'm not going to waste my time trying to outbid him on something or other like that because he will win, or if he doesn't win, he will stick me with them. And I know this is true, not the sticking part, because I did not outbid him. But there was a situation where at the auction, he actually paid more per piece than I was able to get per piece. And that kind of was eye-opening to me. And then I found where he had them listed and what he was getting out of them. And he was getting very, very healthy prices. So it did open my eyes. Same auction, there was another person that regularly would outbid me on some travel stuff. So I was able to track down his ID as well and figure out what he's selling and figuring out what he's willing to go on. And it definitely helps because I don't focus as much on those certain types of magazines or on the certain travel things if I see them at the auction. Why waste my time? I mean, I'll do a quick little cursory glance at them and make sure that there's no $1,000 items in there or anything like that. But why waste my time studying those items when it's going to end up being a bidding war and they're willing to work off? Well, the one gentleman's willing to work off smaller margins. The other gentleman's willing to wait a lot longer than I am to make his sales. So what I do at those auctions, because I know what my competitors are going to do, is I then focus on other items that they won't necessarily look at. And I'll do more time studying those, figuring out what I can pay on those. So learning your competition definitely helps you out quite a bit offline as well as online. Another area that is kind of interesting is I've been at a few auctions locally, and there were a couple of people who had come into some money. And what they would do, which is actually kind of devious, except it backfired on them at one point, they would sit back and they would know who knew their things. And there was one person that knew prints. There was one person that knew older books. So they would sit back and watch how those people were bidding. And if those people were bidding fairly high on things, they would jump in and end up winning the lots, because they knew that if the given print person was willing to pay $1,000 on this lot of prints, it must be very, very good prints. So they bid high on them. The only downside to this, there's two downsides to it. Number one, you don't necessarily know as much as the person doing the bidding, the other person. So now you've got prints for $1,200 that you knew this other person thought were worth $1,100. But how are you going to sell them? That's one side of it. And it's not like you can go to the person and ask for help, the expert, and go ask for help because you've been outbidding them. The other problem, which actually did happen, was one of the experts realized what was going on. So he took a less than stellar lot and bid it up and then dropped it on the guy. So there is always that danger as well. But it is kind of interesting how if you watch the people around you and you know their tendencies and you know what they're going to bid on and you know how they're running their business, it can actually help you out a lot in your own business. You can learn things from them. And a lot of people are willing to share things as well. So you certainly stay friendly with them and come up and talk to them a little bit and say, oh, that was a really, really nice lot I liked, and bring something or other up, even if you really don't know what's good in there. And sometimes they'll actually tell you, yeah, that's an okay piece, but this was the really good piece because. And glean all the information you possibly can out of them. And you'd be absolutely amazed how much it'll help you. And you'll be absolutely amazed how much people are willing to tell you that you can use to help yourself. And we'll be completing this in the next video where I talk about online research.